Story 1. The McDonald's lost and found my name is Alex, and for 2 years the closing shift at McDonald's was my life. The stale smell of fries, the hum of the freezer, the quiet clatter of cleaning, most nights blurred into one, punctuated only by the occasional forgotten item in the lost and found bin. Old hats, lonely gloves, a child's drawing, nothing exciting ever. Until that Tuesday. I was emptying the bin, a task I usually rushed through, but something glinted amidst the usual junk. It wasn't just old, it was ancient. A tarnished, heart-shaped locket, heavy and cold, nestled amongst a single sock and a crumpled receipt. No chain, just the locket itself. It felt oddly significant, an artifact out of place. My shift ended, but I couldn't shake the locket. It felt wrong to leave it. Against protocol, I slipped it into my pocket. The metal was surprisingly warm against my skin, almost pulsating. I told myself I'd try to find its owner, but deep down, I knew I was just intensely curious about its story, its unknown past. At home, under my bedside lamp, I began to clean the locket. Years of grime came away, revealing intricate engravings, faded flowers, a small initial E. As I polished the tarnished silver, a strange chill ran through me, despite the warmth of my apartment. A whisper of something ancient stirred. Suddenly a sound, faint but clear, echoed in my mind, a child's desperate, choked cry. It was accompanied by an overwhelming wave of profound loss, a crushing despair that wasn't mine. I froze, heart pounding. I dismissed it as exhaustion, a trick of the mind. Just imagination, I told myself, trying to rationalize the impossible. The next night back at work, the locket was still in my pocket. I found myself unconsciously touching it. This time, the sensations were more vivid. I saw a flash of a frantic argument in booth 7, heard angry shouts, felt a surge of pure, unadulterated fear. This wasn't imagination. It was a memory bleeding through. Later, while cleaning the place, the locket pulsed in my hand. A chilling vision materialized, a shadowy figure, tall and menacing, lurking near the slide. A child's terrified whimper filled my ears, followed by a profound silence. The air grew heavy, thick with forgotten dread, a palpable presence. The visions became frequent, each touch of the locket bringing a new wave of despair. I felt the overwhelming sadness of a lonely teenager crying into a milkshake, the bitter resentment of a cashier being yelled at, the silent terror of someone hiding in the bathroom. The restaurant felt alive with sorrow, a graveyard of emotions. I started hearing whispers, faint and distorted, just at the edge of my hearing. They seemed to emanate from the booths, the kitchen, even the drive-through speaker. They weren't just memories, they felt like echoes of past conversations, past traumas, lingering in the very walls of McDonald's, a chorus of the forgotten. Fleeting figures started appearing in my peripheral vision. A woman in an old-fashioned dress vanishing around a corner, a child's silhouette darting through the place. They were gone as soon as I turned my head, leaving only a lingering chill and the unsettling certainty that I wasn't alone in this haunted space. The atmosphere in the restaurant grew heavier each night. I felt an unnerving sense of being constantly watched, not by cameras, but by unseen eyes. Every creak, every shadow seemed to hold a presence. The line between their reality and mine was dissolving, blurring into a terrifying mosaic of past and present. I couldn't stop touching the locket. It was an addiction, a compulsion. Each touch promised more, a deeper dive into the restaurant's hidden history. My fingers traced the cold metal, craving the next fragmented memory, the next jolt of forgotten emotion. It had become an extension of me, a part of my very being. The memories became clearer, more personal. I saw a young couple's tearful breakup, a child's pet hamster escaping in the parking lot, a desperate father searching for his lost daughter. These weren't just incidents, they were raw, bleeding wounds in the fabric of this place, each one a tragedy etched in time. It wasn't just isolated sadness. There was a pervasive, malevolent undercurrent, a thread of darkness connecting these events. It felt like the restaurant itself was a magnet for misfortune, a silent witness to countless moments of despair. I felt a chill that wasn't from the freezer, but from something ancient and cold. I was no longer just observing, I was experiencing these moments. I felt the cold fear of the child, the searing pain of the breakup, the crushing anxiety of the father. My own emotions became intertwined with theirs, making it harder to distinguish what was real from what the locket showed me, blurring my reality. One late night alone, the locket pulsed violently. I was seized by a full-blown, terrifying memory. The restaurant transformed. It was decades ago. Panic, screams, utter chaos erupted. I wasn't just seeing it. I was feeling the cold grip of terror, hearing the desperate cries of forgotten souls. A child, a little girl with blonde pigtails, was at the center of the terror. She was pulled away, silently, into the shadows of the place. Her mother's piercing shriek echoed, followed by a sudden, deafening silence. It was a disappearance, a violent tragedy, long forgotten by time, but not by this cursed place. I felt myself caught within the event, surrounded by manifesting despair. The air was thick with it, suffocating. The faces of past victims, distorted by anguish, swirled around me. I was one of them, a silent witness, a part of the horror. This wasn't just a story, it was a living nightmare, a tangible terror. Shattered, I stumbled out of the vision, gasping for air. I tried to destroy the locket, to throw it away, but my hands wouldn't let go. The memories, the restaurant's dark history, were irrevocably etched into my mind. I couldn't escape what I had seen, what I had felt, what had become a part of me. I left my job shortly after, unable to face the restaurant again. But the chilling knowledge, the unsettling presence of the past, continues to haunt me. The locket is locked away, but its echoes persist. I'll never look at an ordinary place the same way, wondering what hidden horrors truly lie beneath the surface, waiting to be found. Story 2, The McDonald's Bathroom Reflection. Just another Tuesday, a quick McDonald's stop with Lily. I recall the fluorescent hum, disinfectant smell, and brief relief. Setting Lily down, I glanced into the large mirror, tired but content. That's when I noticed it. My reflection, in my peripheral vision, seemed to shift a fraction before I did. I blinked, attributing it to fatigue. This happened to me, and I tried to dismiss the unsettling sensation, convincing myself it was just imagination playing tricks. As I reached for the soap, my reflection's hand moved a hair too early, an imperceptible tremor of anticipation that wasn't mine. I froze, breath catching, eyes locked on the mirror. A cold prickle ran down my spine, a true jolt of unease. I pulled my hand back, but the reflection's hand lingered, twitching. The bathroom air felt heavy, fluorescent lights buzzing louder. I tried to rationalize it, but my gut screamed something was profoundly wrong. This wasn't normal, it was a terrifying anomaly. I started testing it, raising an eyebrow. My reflection mirrored me, but with a fraction of a second's delay. Then I turned my head, and its head moved just a hair too soon. The synchronization was off, chillingly so, an uncanny echo. Sometimes, an expression not quite mine, a fleeting flicker of fear or urgency in its eyes. Like watching a poorly dubbed film, but the discrepancy was in my own face, my own movements. The uncanny valley of my own reflection staring back. Lily, oblivious to my horror, tugged at my jeans, wanting her hands washed. Her innocent babbling contrasted sharply with the silent terror. I barely registered her, my eyes glued to the glass, unable to look away from the unsettling sight. The reflection's eyes, wide and desperate, seemed to plead. My heart hammered, a frantic drumbeat against the unsettling silence. The bathroom, once a refuge, now felt like a trap, the mirror a window to something truly unspeakable. Then it wasn't just out of sync. As I slowly lowered my hand, my reflection's hand didn't follow. Instead, it stayed suspended, trembling. A new, terrifying chapter of this bizarre encounter had just begun, I realized with a profound jolt. Slowly, deliberately, it pointed a trembling finger, not at me or Lily, but towards the far bathroom wall, away from the stalls, towards a blank, painted surface with no visible features. My blood ran cold, dread washing over me. Its lips began to move, forming silent, desperate words. I couldn't hear them, but the urgency in its contorted face was palpable. Its eyes wide with terror, mirroring my own growing dread, a silent scream trapped behind that glass. I leaned closer, heart pounding, trying desperately to read its lips. The fear in its eyes was so profound, so raw, it felt like a physical blow. I had to understand what it was telling me, what horror it was witnessing here. The first word, silent but clear in my mind, formed on its lips. Behind, my breath hitched. It was warning me about something hidden, sinister, just out of sight, beyond the ordinary facade of this fast food restaurant. Then came the next phrase, the wall, the words, unheard yet echoing with icy clarity. A dark secret, concealed within the very structure of this McDonald's, was being revealed by my own terrified reflection. It was utterly real. And then the most chilling warning, don't eat the meat. My stomach lurched. The implications were sickening, tying the hidden horror directly to the food, the very reason people came here. I'll never forget that warning, not ever. The reflection's face contorted in a silent scream, its eyes darting frantically. It was as if something unseen was watching *it*, watching *us* through the mirror, through the wall. It desperately warned me of a malevolent, unseen presence. Panic seized me, a cold, visceral wave. I snatched Lily up, her small body a sudden weight in my trembling arms. My mind raced with the chilling words, the silent plea, the horrifying secret. Every instinct screamed to run, to escape. I didn't even wash her hands. I bolted out of the bathroom, through the bustling restaurant. I ignored the confused stares, the half-eaten burgers, the cheerful golden arches that now seemed a cruel mockery. All I wanted was to escape the building. I could feel the cold gaze of the reflection, or whatever entity was behind it, following. It urged me to run faster, never look back, to flee this place and its unspeakable truths. The air felt thick with unseen, malevolent eyes. We drove away, but the image of that terrified reflection, the silent scream, and the chilling warning about the meat stayed with me. I've never set foot in that McDonald's again, or any McDonald's. Every time I pass one, I feel a prickle of unease, wondering what dark secret lies hidden, and if anyone else has ever seen their own reflection, try to warn them. Story 3: The McDonald's Basement Secret. This happened to me. I'm Mark, and my new maintenance gig at the old McDonald's on Elm Street felt like a step back in time. My first big job was clearing out the forgotten, dusty basement storage, a place nobody had touched in decades. I'll never forget that first descent. The basement stairs creaked ominously under my weight, each step echoing in the cavernous silence. Cobwebs draped from every pipe and beam. It felt actively avoided, a true time capsule of the forgotten. The air was heavy, still. The basement was a labyrinth of moldy cardboard boxes, defunct fryers, and broken plastic toys from forgotten Happy Meal promotions. Each corner held a new relic, coated in dust. The air was heavy, stagnant, a mixture of grease and damp earth. It seemed ordinary then. As I cleared a path deeper, I noticed something peculiar. A section of the concrete wall just didn't look right. It was smoother, almost too new compared to the ancient, crumbling brick and mortar. A faint seam ran down its center, barely visible under years of grime. My curiosity was piqued. I ran my hand over the suspicious section, feeling a subtle unevenness. A strange intuition, a prickle on my skin, told me this wasn't just a patch job. This was deliberate. I began to tap, and a dull thud echoed back where it should have been solid. Armed with a crowbar, I started prying away loose bricks and a rotting sheet of plywood crudely affixed to the wall. The work was slow, laborious, each piece releasing ancient dust. The faint metallic scent I'd noticed earlier seemed to intensify. Behind the deteriorating facade, I uncovered it, a narrow, crudely built wooden door. It was almost perfectly hidden, tucked away behind a stack of old, empty soda syrup containers. The wood was dark and stained, hastily put together. No handle, just a simple, rusted latch. My heart pounded. This wasn't just storage, this was hidden. Why such lengths? The air grew colder, heavier, as if the space behind the door drew warmth. I reached for the latch, my hand trembling, a primal sense of dread washing over me. With a groan of rusty metal, the latch gave way. I pulled the door open, revealing a small, windowless room. The darkness inside was absolute, swallowing my flashlight's beam. The air hit me then, a potent, sickening mix of metallic tang and something cloyingly sweet, like stale blood and disinfectant. My flashlight beam cut through the oppressive gloom. The walls of the room were lined with thick, sound-dampening foam, stained and discolored, not for storage, for silence. The realization hit me. This wasn't just a forgotten space. It was designed to prevent anything from getting out. The metallic, sweet smell was overwhelming now, clinging to my clothes, making my stomach churn. It was the smell of decay, yes, but mixed with something synthetic and deeply disturbing. This wasn't forgotten food. It was the smell of something sinister that had lingered for years. Amidst the dust and grime, I found it. A rusted, child-sized high chair bolted securely to the concrete floor. My breath hitched. Why a high chair? In a soundproofed room? The implications were horrifying. No innocent explanation for this. Next to the high chair, on the grimy floor, was a single, worn-out teddy bear. Its synthetic fur was matted and stained, one button eye missing, giving it a grotesque, empty stare. A child's toy left behind. The sight sent a cold shiver down my spine. Then I saw them, a collection of faded, disturbing Polaroids scattered haphazardly on a nearby ledge. The images were blurred, poorly lit, but I could make out distorted faces, perhaps of children, and strange, unsettling symbols scratched onto the foam walls. Beyond imagination. My hands shook as I dug deeper, hoping to disprove the terrible narrative. Underneath a loose floorboard, I unearthed a small, locked metal box, heavy with secrets. This was it. This was the key to understanding everything. I forced the lock, the ancient metal groaning. Inside, a faded newspaper clipping. The headline screamed about the unsolved disappearance of a local child years ago, a girl named Emily. The date was decades old. My blood ran cold, solidifying in my veins. Beneath the newspaper, I found a crudely drawn map. It was a sketch of the McDonald's basement, and circled in red was the exact location of this hidden, soundproofed room. It wasn't random. It was planned. This McDonald's held a monstrous secret. My blood ran absolutely cold. The implications were horrifying, undeniable. This wasn't just storage. It was a soundproof chamber for something unspeakable, a place of terror tied to a missing child case. I felt nauseous, my world tilting. I immediately called my manager, then the police. They investigated, or so I thought. The official report stated no conclusive evidence of foul play, and the room was simply an old, unauthorized storage space. They cleaned it, but the truth felt swept under the rug. The McDonald's eventually closed down, the for sale sign a grim monument. I still see that sign sometimes, a constant, chilling reminder. I can't shake the feeling the secret is still there, buried beneath those cheerful golden arches, waiting for someone else to find it. This really happened to me, and I'll never forget it. Story 4, The McDonald's Security Loop. I'm Alex, a night manager. The eerie quiet after closing was routine, as was reviewing security footage. It was mundane until a recurring glitch in booth 7 caught my eye. This happened to me, and I'll never forget it. The glitch was a fleeting, distorted figure, always in the same empty booth after hours. I dismissed it as a camera malfunction, rewinding repeatedly, trying to rationalize the impossible blur. It had to be a technical error, anything but real. But the blur wouldn't go away. Each time it was there for a fraction of a second. I zoomed in, desperate for a logical explanation. Dust on the lens, a reflection, a tiny seed of unease started to grow. This was no ordinary malfunction, I realized. As nights passed, the figure appeared more frequently. It lingered longer, slightly less distorted, a wavering human outline. My initial dismissals turned to unsettling obsession. I found myself anticipating its appearance, a knot forming in my stomach. I started scrutinizing every frame, pausing, replaying, trying to catch every detail. My sleep suffered. The mundane task of reviewing footage transformed into a nightly vigil. I felt a strange pull, an undeniable urge to understand what I was seeing. Then I saw it. Within the footage, a plastic tray on the booth 7 table visibly shifted. Not much, but undeniable. My breath hitched. I immediately ran to the physical booth, heart pounding, hoping for a rational explanation. The physical booth was exactly as I'd left it. The tray hadn't moved an inch. My hands trembled. The changes existed only in the digital realm. This wasn't a glitch. It was something interacting with the recording itself, chilling me. The interactions intensified. A chair would subtly creak on the silent footage. A napkin would flutter. It was like watching a poltergeist trapped within the security feed, a silent, digital haunting. The terror was growing, seeping into my reality. The figure became clearer, though still horribly distorted. Its head would slowly, sickeningly turn towards the camera, a stretched, unnatural movement. I felt a cold dread even away from the monitors. Its presence was constant, permeating my thoughts. I started seeing things in my peripheral vision, shadows darting. Every sound made me jump. The line between real and screen blurred. I was convinced this entity was trying to cross over, using the digital feed as a terrifying bridge. One dark, stormy night, I was fixed on the screen, face inches from the monitor. The figure in booth 7 was clearer, gaunt, and skeletal. I whispered, "What do you want?" My voice barely audible, but the reaction was immediate. The feed for booth 7 violently flickered, scrambling into static. My heart leaped. Other feeds remained stable, only booth 7 convulsed, struggling against something immense. This was no error, it was a desperate, terrifying struggle. For a terrifying split second, the static cleared, and a perfectly clear, screaming face filled the entire monitor. It wasn't human. Its eyes were wide, black voids, its mouth stretched into a silent, agonizing shriek. The horror burned into my retinas. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the face dissolved back into static, and then into the familiar, empty booth 7. The silence was deafening, broken only by my ragged breathing. My chair clattered as I stumbled backward, away from the screen. I quit soon after. There was no way I could step foot in that McDonald's again. That screaming face, those black eyes, the knowledge of what's trapped in that digital loop became my constant nightmare. My sanity fractured beyond repair. I still wonder if it's there, watching, waiting. Does it still appear in booth 7 after closing? Is it trying to break out of its video prison into our reality? The thought sends shivers down my spine. I avoid all McDonald's now. This happened to me, and it changed everything. Every screen, every digital display now holds a hidden terror. I see fleeting blurs in reflections, distortions in video calls. The world feels thinner, the veil between realities more fragile. Sometimes, late at night, I hear a faint creaking sound, like a chair shifting. I know it's just my imagination, a lingering echo of what I saw, but it's enough to keep me awake, wondering if it's finally found a way out. The McDonald's where I worked, it's still there. I drive past it sometimes, always after dark, keeping my distance. I see the faint glow of the security cameras silently recording. I can almost feel its presence, trapped but aware. I'll never forget that night or that face. It's a constant reminder that some things are better left unseen, trapped just beyond the pixels, waiting for their chance to manifest. And I pray it never fully crosses over, starting with booth 7. Story 5, the McDonald's ice cream machine. I was Mark, just another cog in the greasy McDonald's machine. My personal antagonist, the perpetually broken ice cream machine. It was more than an inconvenience. It symbolized everything soul-crushing about my endless night shifts, a constant reminder of mundane despair. Initially, it was just broken, eliciting a weary sigh for disappointed kids. But then came a strange, metallic sweet smell. It clung to the air around it, a scent definitely not vanilla or chocolate, making my nose wrinkle in confusion and unease during my lonely shifts. Then came the sounds, faint, wet gurgling, like a churning stomach, even when the machine was supposedly off. I'd hear it during dead hours, that quiet amplifying every creak and groan. It was unsettling, burrowing under my skin, raising goosebumps on my arms. It would mysteriously sputter to life for a few hours, then fail again, always when I was alone. It would tease me, making me think it was fixed, before plunging back into its broken state. It felt deliberate, almost malicious, aimed solely at me. Customers started complaining. "It tastes off," they'd say, "bitter like old metal." I tried to brush it off, blaming faulty mix, but complaints grew. A cold dread settled in. Something was profoundly wrong with the ice cream, and I felt it in my bones. I started noticing a strange, glistening residue in the drip tray. Not just melted soft serve, but something thicker, darker, with an unnatural sheen. It shimmered faintly under the fluorescent lights, catching my eye with an unsettling, almost hypnotic allure. Cleaning it became a chore I dreaded. After scrubbing that bizarre residue, I'd feel an inexplicable exhaustion, a profound weariness. It was like my energy was being siphoned, leaving me hollow and drained after each shift, more than just tired. My frustration curdled into an unsettling obsession. I started staying late, watching it from the shadows, convinced it wasn't just faulty. The machine held a dark secret, I was sure, a malevolent presence I needed to understand. I was convinced it wasn't merely faulty. No, this was something else. It had a presence, a malevolence that felt almost alive. I'd stand there, heart thumping, waiting for it to reveal its true nature to me in the dead of night. One night after everyone left, I heard them, faint, wet thumps and squelches from deep within its metallic guts. It sounded organic, like something moving, shifting, contracting. My blood ran cold. It wasn't just gurgling anymore, it was alive. And then I saw it. A glimpse, fleeting but undeniable. Something dark, segmented, like a grotesque worm, retracting quickly into a small vent near the base. It vanished before I could properly register it, leaving me questioning my sanity. That vision solidified my resolve. I had to know. Armed with a screwdriver and my phone's flashlight, I decided that night would be different. The do not tamper warnings plastered on the machine meant nothing to me anymore. Truth was paramount. This happened to me. I found a service panel I'd never noticed, tucked away behind a larger access door. This wasn't for routine cleaning, it was deeper, hidden. My heart pounded, a frantic drum against my ribs, anticipating the unknown. Driven by a desperate, primal need, I wedged the screwdriver and forced the panel open. The metallic shriek echoed in the silent kitchen, a sound that felt like it was tearing open more than just metal. There was no turning back now, the truth awaited. Instead of wires and pipes, a cavity opened, filled with a pulsating, glistening mass. It was grotesque, unlike anything I'd ever seen. My breath hitched, a silent scream catching as I stared into the abyss, my mind reeling. A grotesque, organic entity with vestigial eyes and a siphon-like mouth pulsed rhythmically. It was slowly, sickeningly, drawing a dark, viscous fluid from the machine's internal reservoir. This wasn't a mechanical fault. It was something far worse, something alive. It wasn't broken. It was asterisk feeding asterisk. A wave of nausea and primal terror washed over me, rendering me immobile. The ice cream wasn't soft serve, it was its byproduct, a disgusting waste that customers had been consuming daily, unknowingly. Its true sustenance was far more sinister. It fed on the subtle, psychic despair of every customer and employee, the slow, unseen draining of the restaurant's very soul. My inexplicable exhaustion, the bad taste, it all clicked into place with horrifying clarity. I slammed the panel shut with a desperate clang, my stomach churning with bile. The metallic shriek sealed away the horror, but not the memory. I fled the restaurant, never looking back. That grotesque image burned into my mind forever. I never returned to that McDonald's or any fast food restaurant with an ice cream machine. I still see them, though, gleaming innocently behind counters, and I wonder how many other broken machines are out there, silently, grotesquely, feeding on something far more sinister than soft-serve mix, just waiting for the next unsuspecting employee to look too closely. I'll never forget that night.